I'd like to welcome everybody. This is the first author interview of Spotlight on Indie SFF for Science Fiction and Fantasy, and we're here today with our introductory author, PR Infidel, author of
Tales of American Idiocy, and also Conspiracy Crew, The End is Meow.
Love that title. Love that title.
No fun.
So who is the main character that you have the meow in there?
Okay, so basically what happened is Tales of American Idiocy is my first book, and that was a collection of just satirical short stories. And it was written during COVID, and I really just didn't know what to do with it. And the world was so dystopic that I said, you know what, I've got to do something. And so I published this. And the most popular story in that book is about a cat who is also a conspiracy theorist, and his name is Chester. And so Chester was pretty popular. A lot of people really loved him. He's quirky, he's twitchy, he's weird, he's out there, he's not afraid to question anything. And a lot of people really identified with that. And so it was such a fun phenomenon that I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and continue his adventures. And so I did with Conspiracy Crew, The End is Meow.
So what happens in Conspiracy Crew with Chester?
So it's basically a continuation of the COVID era. They are questioning the shot and kind of the end game with it. And what they basically come to the conclusion of is that the shot is a precursor to the mark of the beast type thing. Okay, so it's kind of like a test run for that, because what the elites are going to do next is they're going to implement this digital ID, right? And so you can't buy or sell without it. You can't get medical care without it, all this stuff. China actually has a very similar system right now. It's called the social credit score system, if you want to kind of look up how this is supposed to work over here. So anyway, it does have a little bit of a biblical focus on it. Basically, they call the Bible the manifesto. They say that it's full of original conspiracy theorists. So they're basically just kind of, continuing God's work here. And so they're going to try to stop the mark. And so they're going to try to stop the COVID vaccines from occurring. And so by doing that, they're going to knock off the timeline for the implementation of the digital ID, okay? Because they realize that's the end game. They're super intelligent because they've been made that way by a friendly alien. His name is Lord Zlorp. He worked with the CIA for a while. So I get into a lot of conspiracies. Like, I don't just tackle one. I also get into weather modification. I talk about Operation Popeye, which was a real thing that happened in the 70s during the Vietnam War. That was weather modification. They basically seeded all these clouds to drop down all this water on top of the Ho Chi Minh Trail and to cut off a supply route for the communists, okay? Because if you can't get your supplies, you can't fight. So it talks about that. It talks about how they're kind of upping the weather mod to get everyone afraid of climate change so that they can change the farming practices and limit food production. And, eventually the animals, they're kind of fighting this. They find a weather machine. They also end up in Canada helping support the trucker rebellion. I don't know if you know anything about that. Yeah. You remember that?
Yep.
So they actually end up supporting that and helping that be successful in a small way. Of course, behind the scenes as animals are, it's so they do what they can, but it is significant and it does make a difference. And then, of course, the not too many spoilers, but where the book leaves off is that their next thing they're going to tackle is the weather modification. And so that's the book that I'm working on right now that's going to be their next battle.
And do you have a title on that book?
Conspiracy Crew, The Burning Earth.
The Burning Earth. So you're going to have Bill Gates in that or anything? Have you seen what he's been doing lately?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to put him in there. He's going to be in there. Now, okay. I always change the names just slightly, but not, you can tell who I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Like in Conspiracy Crew, instead of it being President Biden, it's President Brandon, right? And the Prime Minister, instead of it being Trudeau, it's Treadlow. So I'm not really trying to hide anything, but, just enough to kind of so that I don't get sued for trademark or branding or anything
or
like that.
defamation or anything like that. Yeah, that's something all authors have to be so careful of.
Right. Yeah.
All those legal implications.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So where did you get the idea? Obviously, you said COVID, but what is your background that gave you all the ideas for doing these different conspiracy theories?
So I just have a brain that I don't accept things at face value. I consider that one of my gifts from God. I look at something and some things, are the way they seem. I mean, they just are what they are, right? But then there's some things that just don't seem right. And so when something doesn't seem right, you have a duty to look further into it, in my opinion. As a woman of God, I think that is my duty, right? And so the other thing that's helped me out is I do have a background in medicine. So when I'm trying to figure out what something is, the big deal is you have to follow the symptoms to the diagnosis. And of course, there's different diagnostics you can do, like labs and scans and all this fun stuff. But at the end of the day, the story is going to be what's most important. Because without the story, you don't know what diagnostics to run. You don't know where to look, so you have to start there.
Yep, I get that. So you say you have a medical background. That's something I didn't realize. What kind of medical background do you have?
So I don't want to go too much into it.
That's fine. Yeah, just, nurse or, assistant or what is it? CNA?
I will say that I do have an advanced degree.
Okay.
So you can go from there and kind of, figure out what you think I might be.
That's fine. You don't have to go into detail. I was just kind of curious. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I am. I've worked in medicine for quite a few years now. So.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Well, that gives you a different insight too, I'm sure. We all kind of add a little bit of our specialty when we write a story. So what kind of medical stuff might be included that Chester and his friends might understand?
So what we have to keep in mind when we're talking about Chester and his little band of misfits, that they are not ordinary pets because they've been made hyper intelligent by
okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So basically how it starts off is his owner, Moira, okay, she's middle-aged, divorced. She was the one that kind of started in conspiracy theories, and she got really into it, and her husband thought she was crazy, okay, because she would talk about aliens and all this and what's really going on in the world. And so he ends up leaving her. And so she's alone, and she's just got this friend who's this alien, right? And so, she gets lonely, and the alien says, well, why don't you go get yourself a cat? And so she goes to the shelter and she adopts basically the least adoptable cat, right? The one that everybody's passing over. And it's Chester. And Chester's, he's a little strange to begin with. He's not hyper intelligent yet, but he, he's got this weird kind of big eyes, kind of twitchy, kind of looks weird, whatever.
Sounds cute.
So and so she brings him home, and, when she sees Slurp again, she says, oh, look at my new friend. And he goes, oh, he's great. He's perfect. But guess what? I can make him better. And basically, if you kind of think of Men in Black, except he's got this hyper intelligence ray and he shoots him with this ray. And of course, then the cat starts talking like her. And then, they kind of become this little team, and they start looking into all these, what the elites and the government are doing. And then, of course, Zlorp's got connections because he knew people in the CIA and everything. And one of their connections is a lizard person by the name of Mr. He. But he doesn't look like a lizard. He actually looks like an iguana.
Okay.
He was made by the Chinese Communist Party in a lab. And so he's like 90% iguana and 10% human DNA. So that's how he's hyper intelligent. But the rest of the animals that joined Chester later, they were just these pets in the neighborhood, that would just come and they'd have these weekly meetings and they'd talk about boring pet stuff, like the mailman or what time their human feeds them or who's been to the vet lately. And then, Chester's over here like, soon the humans will all wear muzzles and be stuck in their homes by their great glowing boxes, right? And they all think he's nuts until it actually happens and COVID hits. And everything that he predicts comes true. And so suddenly Chester doesn't seem so crazy anymore. And so they basically kind of join up with him and they say, you know what, we're going to help you out because this stuff's real. And then, of course, they meet the alien and he makes them all hyper intelligent so that they can fight the New World Order. So, and it kind of goes from there.
You got me interested in wanting to read all the books here.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
a really neat background. And I love short stories. So that is a great place for me to start, just personally with a busy life. And it's easy to get in little bits like that. So how many stories are in that first book? How many and how long are they?
So there's 7 in the first book.
Okay.
And they're about 3,000 words each.
About a chapter's worth each.
Yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, yeah, you could read one in, like maybe 5-10 minutes or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's a great little nibbles to get you into the Chester and his friends and jump into a longer story like you're planning there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And even, I mean, the second book, Conspiracy Crew, The End is Meow. I mean, let me see, it's about 155 pages. Wait, 160 pages. So it's not super long either. And really, both of my books, I would say like a savvy 10 or 11-year-old could read them if you're looking for something that, you want to give a teen that is not full of woke stuff or,
right.
Christian stuff.
Yeah.
And the way that I do put my faith in there is I don't like super sweet, sappy Christianity. To me, that's not real Christianity.
I totally agree with you. We're kind of on the same wavelength there. I like Christian, I don't want to say flavored stories, but something that at least it's clean and it's not, anti-Christian.
Right. Yeah. I mean, not every story has to end with, this big dramatic scene and these people dropping down to their knees and praising Jesus. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Jesus, whatever, but not everyone is going to identify with that. In fact,
right.
Quite a few people won't. And so when I talk about Christ, I'll do things like, well, there's this one scene. Let me just flip to it here in Conspiracy Crew, The End is Meow.
I just love that title.
Yeah, it's where the animals they open up the Bible and they're pointing to it. The part that talks about there being actually conspiracy theorists in the Bible, at least by modern definition. So,
do you have like a reference there for the Bible?
Yeah. So
I'm kind of curious where, I want to look that up myself at some point.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Give me just a minute to find this because this is fun. And this is an example of what I do when I put Christianity in, So little background here. Basically what's happened is the animals have put out these cat videos, well, basically pet videos, and they've got subliminal messages in them, inspiring the humans to rebel against the COVID vaccine, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they think they've been successful, they're having a party, and then this happens, okay? And here we go. Hey, king of the tinfoil, Tommy burped. He was full of vegetables. Our job is done. Get off that glowing box and come party with the rest of us. This is all because of you, you crazy furball. Without you, we'd still be knee-deep in muzzled humans and genocide juice. In a minute, Chester said distantly. He was scrolling too quickly for Tommy to see what he was doing. Chester, if you don't get off that computer and enjoy the festivities, I'm going to smack you with it. Another minute. No other minute. You need to come finish off this food so we can go buy more like a bunch of crazy preppers before the supply chain crash. It's only going to crash in Canada, if it crashes at all. We know about the Coots blockade, Chester, Rocky said. He'd noticed Chester's obsession. It's old news. Yeah, but this isn't. And Chester moved away from the screen, revealing a strange image. They've chosen Canada as the pilot country for this. The turtle's jaw hung open. Behind him, Moira dropped her wine glass, and Arthur pointed a shaky hand at the screen. Silence ensued because they were looking at a hand, a human hand with wires and tracers running across the fingers. A QR code was stamped in the palm. Arthur, come with me. We need to call Lord Slorp, Moira announced. We'll be back. The animals barely noticed them leave. A sinking feeling hung in the air, an evil echo from somewhere. But where? None could say until Chester mounted the shelving and pushed a large book down from its place of honor. It fell with a thud on the large plywood desk, and Chester landed neatly beside it. All hail the manifesto! He declared, and with a short, respectful bow, started leaving frantically toward the back. Misty sniffed the aged, onion-thin pages. It's a Bible, she said anticlimactically. Chester stopped flipping and penned her with his large eye. What the humans call a Bible, we call the ultimate conspiracy theorist manifesto. This book is full of people ancient governments thought were crazy. Until they weren't. Chester's right, Mr. He added. Noah built a boat far from the ocean, and everyone laughed at him until it rained. Moses warned Pharaoh that his country would face plagues. His Normie Highness laughed until he was holding his dead son. And the guy who wrote this book, this guy, Chester oscillated wildly as he came to revelation. The Romans thought he was absolutely nuts. In fact, Roman brass ordered the soldiers guarding him not to deliver any of his messages off the island. But they did so anyway. Yeah, Mr. He laughed. St. John's book seemed so crazy that the Roman soldiers thought it was comedy. They not only delivered it where St. John requested, but also shared it with their drinking buddies. As a result, this book has become one of the greatest references our people used to. Here it is! Chester wiped his large eye with the back of his paw before reading the verse. And he causeth all, both great and small, rich and poor, slave and free, to receive a mark in their right hand or their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark. Revelation 13:60 through 17. Chester looked back at the screen, and the rest of the animals followed suit. Several beats of silence followed. Then, is that thing linked to a bank account? Tommy asked uncomfortably. Mr. He jumped into his chair and zoomed in. It gives each human a digital ID, allowing them access to money that governments can turn on or off at will. But that's not all. It contains a record of everything about the person, including vaccine status. The rich jerks have chosen Canada as a test country for this. The vaccine is the step before it. Once the humans agree to forced injections, the elites figure they can do anything they want with them, Chester roared. And Chester's right, Mr. He said, zooming in further. With this model, the Canadian government can turn money on and off at will. If Canadians don't take the shots their government mandates, they can't buy, sell, or have any rights. Canadian Prime Minister Treadlow and his New World Order masters haven't ruled this out officially, but it's due to be released to the public soon. Mr. He's shoulders slumped. We had something like this in China, he reminisced. It was called a social credit score. If the humans didn't act like the government thought they should, they couldn't even go grocery shopping. As if the vaccine mandates weren't enough, Rocky snorted. Now this Mark of the Beast thing? Are we all in agreement that this is the Mark of the Beast, said Bonnie. What else could it be? Misty yowled, her cream fur puffing. It's linked to a bank account, for goodness sake. That's the thing that's in the manifesto. Tommy zoomed in on the image. Either it's the mark or it's the rich jerks trying to terrify people by copying something in the manifesto, Rocky concluded. And so that's just kind of a snippet. And then that kind of spurs them to go up to Canada and help the truckers out. So
that's pretty cool. You're good at reading that.
Well, thank you. I enjoy, little animals. I'm an animal nut, so,
Yeah. So what kind of menagerie do you have?
I have a tortoise, and I have 2 cats, and I have a dog, and I am actually looking at getting some farm animals, so I'm really excited.
Oh, that's really cool.